you're being a chill, good, cool guy, but you're just not you're not making things happen quite enough. You're kind of just being there and hoping that things will happen and hoping you'll spend time and she'll get to know you over a period, which will work when circumstance favors you. It will work when she's not doing anything. It will work when she's already sitting down, those kind of things. But it's not going to work with a girl that's like walking fast or a girl that's, has somewhere to be or anything like that. So it'll work sometimes, but you're relying a little too much on things going your way rather than making things happen or dictating things happening. Here's the funny thing about game is that as long as you're moving in the right direction, you're good, right? It's when you stagnate or go backwards that there's a problem. So the fact that you're sitting here and that you're gonna have probably a good 15 to 20 minutes with her means that your progression can be very, very slow and you'll still get away with it. Whereas if you had that same like slow progression, like if you're just standing doing nothing and she weren't committed to a location, she wasn't waiting on a drink, it's possible she'd just be like, okay, I gotta go or something like that. The other thing that's to your benefit here, I assume she's meeting her friends near where you guys are, like she's meeting in this area. Yeah, so it's quite possible that she just is flat out killing time anyway. You're really slow with developing premise, right? And you're actually getting away with it to an extent, but you'll only get away with it to an extent. You're gonna need to ramp it up just a bit because you're gonna end up like very casual platonic. And you can definitely get numbers casual and platonic. It actually works, right? And you can even get girls to meet up with you casual and platonic. That kind of works too. Problem is at some point, you still have to develop the premise. And what happens if you start casual and platonic and then develop the premise very slowly is that you're gonna end up going on like multiple dates before you even find out like what's going on. Also, the level of like, so a girl will come on a date with you for two reasons. Reason number one, she needs to have both really. Reason number one is that the upside with you is greater than zero. There's some kind of upside, there's some kind of possibility she's interested in, right? And that's where having premise and making it man to woman matters. But if you're just a fun, cool guy, there also is upside there. It's not as big as if you were a fun, cool guy with premise, but there is possible upside. So you could still get a date that way. But the problem is she has other friends, she has other things going on in her life. And if you don't have that premise, it's more likely that she's just gonna have other things going on and she'll be not flaky in a mean way, but just flaky in terms of she's busy, she's not that motivated. Like the motivation level is just not high enough. But the other thing that will have her come on a date is that it feels comfortable and safe for her. So ironically, if you have a lot of premise, sometimes it feels less comfortable and less safe, and that can actually make her flake, weirdly enough, right? But that's because the premise is uncomfortable. So the key is to try and have premise with comfort. And your ratio of comfort to premise is like way skewed to comfort. So you can add a lot more premise without being in any risk of making it uncomfortable at all. Gradually escalate. And by that I mean escalate verbally, physically, and logistically. All right, so physically, you do, in daytime you're not gonna escalate physically that much, but you can do little light touches, right? You can do like touch on the shoulder, a little quick hug, touch on the knee, things like that are like not super untoward. Right? Another physical escalation that's not really a physical escalation, but it counts, is holding eye contact a little too long. That's an escalation you can definitely do in daytime. I'd consider that like a physical escalation. Because it's like it's sexual in nature, right? Yeah. So that's one that I do a lot in daytime. If the tension's there, I'll hold eye contact and give them like kind of the look. But so those things are physical escalations. You want to be gradually escalating physically. Yeah. Also verbally, you want to be gradually escalating in terms of making it closer from random to I to you to we, more intimate. And then also the topics you're introducing, more sexual potentially, more intimate topics, those kind of things. So you're gradually escalating it verbally. And then logistically, you're gradually escalating from walking to an instant date to maybe an instant date nearer your place or an instant date back at your place, different things like that, right? So you're just moving the venues around is an escalation, and especially moving the venues closer to somewhere where you'd eventually be able to have sex is an escalation, right? So you're basically the date is gradually escalating on all three levels. And then the other part of the date is evaluation, like getting to know the person specifically from the right frame. So those are the two things. So basically the content, the baseline content is evaluation, getting to know her from the right frame. Yeah. The game part of it, so to speak, is escalating the three categories. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about different topics, there's levels to it. So talking about random things is very not intimate, right? That's like the least intimate, and that's what you're mostly talking about. Talking about her is, talking about yourself is fairly not intimate because it's not very it's not a big deal for her. There's no debate in it, whatever. Telling stories about yourself is pretty safe as well. Talking about her tends to be a little bit more intimate. And so now you've gone from talking about random topics to sort of kind of talking about her a little bit, but you're still mostly talking about random topics, so you're still talking about the perception of being Eastern European more than you're talking about her specifically. Right? So you're still really on random topics. It's still very distant from sex. Right? What you really like to be talking about is you and her together, and that's the most intimate. Right? So it's random, I, you, we, if you're looking at the pronouns. Right? So you're talking mostly on random, a little bit of I, a little bit of you. There's no we. There's no implication of you and her together at any point in this. And even there's not much of you and her, it's mostly random topics. So what you want to do is you want to shift the topic to more intimate ones. Right? And an easy way to do that is by teasing. Because teases they're fun and lighthearted and you're just kidding, so it's a safe way of introducing those more intimate topics.